Okay, folks, Andrew Bowl Bros here. Want to do a video on the East-West Shrine Bowl. We are going to be going live on that on Thursday. The Bowl Bros will be doing that. That's why we did not do a video this last weekend. We figured, hey, let's just talk about some potential draft picks, some sleepers, some people we might see, and could be potential standout for this game. I'm going to talk about the offense today. But before that, I also want to recap what I think is going to happen in free agency a little bit, to give you an idea what I think where some of these players might sit, and I think what we do prior to actually looking at and evaluating players. So, guys, plenty to talk about. Let's get into it. Okay, folks, as always, like and subscribe if you do enjoy the content. I'm Andrew Bowl Bros. And again, we got a lot of money, folks. We got a lot of money. You know, we potentially could have almost $100 million to spend, right? So these gentlemen right here are happy. Now, I think we did well with 11 wins. I think that was a good thing. But bottom line, I think we got a lot of money to spend in free agency. So let me make a blanket statement, right? I do think we go out and get a center. I do think we go out and get a right guard in free agency, and potentially, I'm talking about the offense, guys. I'm not going to talk about the defense. And then I think we also get a wide receiver and potentially a running back and maybe even a tight end, right? That's a lot of money to spend. And again, a couple of nice veterans that we could bring in that we think can do well. So we're gonna make a splash in free agency. I think we have the 6th highest potential cap space right now, even before letting Joey Bosa go and other people go at this moment. So we can make a splash in free agency, and we will do a good job doing that as well. Having said that, I want to talk about some of the people that we can potentially be wanting to watch in the East-West Shrine game on Thursday. Again, we are going to be going live for that, so definitely tune in. You know, we'll be, continuing our normal shenanigans, as you all know. So let's talk about a guy that's a little bit deep in the cuts at this moment, right? His name's Jaden Blue. I really liked him. I watched him quite a bit in the playoffs. Did great with Texas. A lot of people were very surprised that he actually even elected to go to the draft. Again, he's a true junior, which you don't see very often. So he's a very young player. Now, again, good example, Isaiah Spiller, right? Went to the draft probably a little too early. And I think that's unfortunately what happened with him. You know, he sort of struggled. And that's why I think a lot of people don't have him very high on the list. But he's got talent, man. I mean, you saw him out there running. I mean, I remember thinking, man, this guy's going to be a top, 10 running back. He's not even on the list, at least from what I could see on NFL Draft Buzz. And so at the end of the day, it was a bit of a risk for him to go out early, but he did. Now, be interesting to see how he does play out. Now, again, he's a bit of an underrated commodity. I think a lot of people, some people are projecting he might even be an undrafted free agent, which would be amazing if he goes that far. But I think it's really going to boil down to the combine. Again, a blanket statement with all these people that I'm going to talk about. It's really going to boil down to this game that we're going to see on Thursday and also the combine. It will elevate players' ability, right? Shakir Sanders actually is going to be playing. Big reason why is he did not play well in the bowl game against BYU. BYU destroyed them, right? So, some of these players have things to prove, right? That's where, going to camps makes a difference. That's why going to, excelling in the combine makes a difference. And these East-West Shrine games make a big difference. But right now, Jaden Blue is really not projected to go very high in the draft. In fact, he's not even on the list, and he's not even a top 50 running back, which would easily make him most likely an undrafted free agent. So I thought that was a little bit interesting. Somebody on the list that actually can be a much higher is a wide receiver from Louisville. Actually, he was a high recruit. He actually went to Alabama. Brooks was primarily he's pretty much an ex-wide receiver, okay? Stretcher for the Crimson Tide before a shoulder injury dropped him out of the lineup. And that's really where he struggled, right? From there, he kind of went down the depth chart, just didn't quite get back into it with Alabama. Used the transfer portal, went to Louisville. He's basically the number 1 wide receiver for Louisville. Like, he's a very, very good wide receiver, and he was a good offensive player for, the Louisville Cardinals, right? And by the way, you may or may not like this comparison, but he was actually compared to our boy. Quentin Johnson. Yes, I know I said it. I know you don't want to hear that name, but he was compared to Quentin Johnson. So, it's a little bit frustrating when you hear some of these comparisons and, we have PTSD and start thinking, oh boy, do we really want to have a guy like that? But, the reality is, he is a good wide receiver, but needs to definitely show that he could be a little bit more than just that. So let's just look him up on NFL Draft Buzz. But he's 6'3", 150 pounds. Pretty good rating, 24th ranked wide receiver in the draft. Okay 40 time. That's not amazing for most wide receivers. Trust me, there are better wide receivers out there. Again, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. But here's the comparison. Quentin Johnston. I think it's pretty interesting. Sage Surratt did okay. Anyways, again, very high recruit, right? Again, very, very high recruit. Now you start looking at some of these other wide receivers. These are some of the top wide receivers in the draft right now. But again, I think he will be an okay pickup, but someone that we could probably go deep in the draft and potentially get some additional value, maybe late in the draft. But again, we'll see what happens, what he does in this game, right? This game would be big. This combine would be big. We'll see where it goes. This is their opportunity to shine. You know that. I know that. The players know that. The NFL teams know that, right? You can sit back and look at some of these players and, who's going to shine, who's not going to shine makes a big difference. So anyways, someone that right now projected would probably be somewhere around, late third round, maybe late fourth round, but, potentially could be someone the Chargers could target. Now, we do need a tight end. Again, I do think that we're going to go after a wide receiver, a tight end, and most likely, a center and a right guard. I've already made this clear. These are depth picks, right? But this tight end right here, we can probably get fairly cheap, fairly inexpensive from Notre Dame, Mitchell Evans. He's a throwback tight end. He was having a great season in 2023, but then he blew out his ACL. So the argument is that he has not really come back from that ACL and done amazingly well, right? Like he's not the guy, right? He's actually pretty far. Actually, I'm not sure how far down he is. Let me pull him up on NFL Draft Buzz as I'm chatting with you. Let me give you a little bit more of a background on him. But bottom line, anyways, midway through the 2023 campaign, blew his ACL. Did not fully recover. He had a decent season in 2024. But, again, he's a very good blocking tight end. Again, health is healthy. Being healthy is the biggest concern with him right now. But, again, very good separation. He'll have to prove that in the combine and also in this game, right? The thing that you have to look at is what's the degree of separation, right? A lot of people ask me, well, why was Ladd McConkey so good? He separated very well in coverage. He did a very good job of creating separation. That's really where Quentin Johnston struggles. He doesn't separate well. He just kind of runs his route, but he sort of telegraphs his route a little bit much. Now, again, that's where the tight ends are a little bit difficult. They don't really do that. Their primary jobs is blocking. That's where Will Dissly was good, right? But we also added Will Dissly into more of the passing game. So, again, it boils down to a lot of different things. These tight ends have to prove that they're not one-trick ponies, and that's really what this guy has to do. And Mitchell Evans really was that guy in 2023, but unfortunately he had this injury in 2024 and never really stepped up and really kind of, showed up as, one of the better tight ends in the NFL draft potentially. So, again, it's going to be interesting to see where he sits. Right now he currently sits around 15. Let me pull him up really quickly. And we'll see where he sits so you guys can take a look at him. But Mitchell Evans, he's 6'5", big dude, 260, good looking, again, not bad. Now 40 time, and again, just to give you an example, his 40 time was very similar to the wide receiver that was just there before. So a guy like that with a 40 time, pretty good. Now, again, you can sit back all day. Loveland, it depends. This guy's a first round pick. Warren, these guys are all interesting. I find it interesting that this guy from Bowling Green is the number one tight end. I'm a little surprised by that, but I wouldn't personally go after a tight end from a small school like that, but who knows? But his blocking is okay. Deep threat is pretty. He's really a deep threat guy. Immediate routes pretty good. Again, QB rating 99.3 when targeted, so he's got good hands. Overall, he wasn't graded very high coming out of high school, but again, he's turned into something a little bit better. But again, I think this guy could be a good person we could scoop up later in the draft. But again, I think, it's going to boil down to what he does, in this game and also in the combine. I mean, that's a big part of the conversation. Where is the value going to be given from some of these players? But I like him. I think he could be somebody to look at. I think he could be somebody that we could potentially scoop up maybe a little bit later on. Moving on. Let's talk about some of the big boys, right? The butt and gut conversation right here. Let's talk a little bit about this guy right here, Drew Kendall, center from Boston College. So just so you guys know, and this is why I'm also going to say I do believe that we are going to go get a most likely a center in free agency. Well, actually, they have to evaluate this. I don't know that we may retain the centers that we have now, but I do think that currently the center class in this draft is not great. So I would not suspect that we're going to start a rookie center. That's why I'm keen on the idea of spending money and going out and getting a veteran center to step up. Bradley Bozeman was okay, not great. You know that. I know that. They may just take another punt on him one more year. Who knows? But Bradley Bozeman struggled a little bit. It might be the right guard play. It might be the left guard play. Who knows, right? But this draft, the center class, does not present a lot of options. So that's a little bit of a concern, but I think that Drew Kendall could be someone we could draft potentially a little later on, maybe the 4th or 5th round. And he could be somebody that could potentially step into the role, after learning, a year or two behind a veteran. Again, right now that there's a lot of tackles and guards in this class that are pretty high there. But again, he does a really good job working gap runs 75% of the time at Boston College. They ran gap. We ran gap a lot, right, guys? We run gap a lot. And so, again, I'm not a huge fan of gap running a ton, but that's a big part of it. But again, that split is appealing to Greg Roman, and we run gap a lot, right? A gap, B gap, C gap, all the above. But again, we have one of the highest rates of gap running in the NFL. So Greg Roman likes gap running. This guy's pretty good at gap running. So, bing, bang, boom. He's probably a guy we could potentially scoop up in the draft. I don't have super high expectations for him, but this is kind of the conversation when you start evaluating players. This person would work well in our system because we run gap. Does that make sense? Again, it's a larger, broader conversation, right? The previous administration, they were running a completely different offense, right? More spread, more wide, and those are different players altogether. Now we're getting in the proper running backs and offensive linemen to run the offense properly. So interesting. And Drew Kendall is like around 40 or 50th ranked in currently on the NFL Draft Buzz board. So not really interested in pulling his information up as well. But I got one more guy I want to discuss. And this is a deep in the cuts guy, but he's becoming pretty big. A lot of people are talking about him. His name is Thomas Perry from Middlebury. I lived in Middlebury for about 3 months, and I'll tell you what, there is middle of nothing, nowhere. It's just cows. Great milk. I love milk, my friends. But my point is, Middlebury, there was a great ice cream spot there as well. I mean, I'm going to ramble on, but Middlebury is an extremely expensive college. It's like $40,000 a year. Liberal arts school. Let me give you guys a tip. If you guys have not gotten to college, do not go to a liberal arts school and definitely do not spend $50,000 a year. That does not make sense, right? You're not going to, you ain't going to make $50,000 a year, paying off your student loans in becoming a teacher or teaching liberal arts. But anyway, my point is, I'm way off topic. Division III Middlebury is very small school, trust me. Perry is expected to test out in the gym and the combine, the pro day. A lot of people like him because he's very smart also. He's a molecular biology and biochemistry double major. Nerd alert. Okay, geek, here we go. But here's the point. He's a good guard. A lot of people like that because, again, this is a tackle and guard class. A lot of people like this dude. He's very big. Now, interesting thing, though. He's also worked with Duke Mayweather, worked with the Chargers lineman Rashawn Slater and Trey Pipkins. Again, he might leave as one of the hottest guards in this draft class, which is weird to me because he went to a small school, but he's working with Duke Mayweather, and also he knows Trey Pipkins, Rashawn Slater. Of course, we don't think Trey Pipkins is going to be with the team this next year. We're going to save some money. But it's one of those things where you have to say, okay, cool. Like the guy knows what he's doing right now. Again, that's my final person I want to talk about here, but let me just give you my final thoughts, wrap up, land my plane. We're going to spend a lot of money in free agency. We are going to go out and get some veterans, guys. So, again, the draft class moving forward now is really, in my opinion, building depth. They are going to address the biggest needs up front first. Now, again, Jim Harbaugh and also Joe Ortiz have said this time and time and again. They're going to draft the best players. I agree with that. They will. But they're also going to look at the positions that they have not filled with veterans. If we do not position, let me make a blanket statement before the draft. I think we'll have a pretty good understanding of who we go after, right? I think we're going to fill most of our major problem areas with veterans. Okay. That's center. That's right guard. We'll probably keep Zion Johnson for one more year. We'll see how he does. And then most likely a wide receiver, a tight end, and maybe a running back on the offensive side of the ball. That's what I really think. Then from there, you're going to add the best players, right? So if we sign all of those people in free agency, then I think we're just going to get the best available players because, hey, there's a veteran in front of you. Let's just bring these guys in. Great example. Look at Tarheeb Still. Look at Cam Hart. These guys were put into action because of injuries, right? And from there, you had to make that decision, right? Okay, well, this guy did a great job. Again, building in the draft makes sense, but you want a veteran to teach them the right way of doing the job. Then they come in case of injury. And again, you cannot plan for injury. You cannot sit back and say, okay, we're going to get injured, not injured, whatever. It is what it is. But you build the draft for depth. That's the whole point. That's really what Jim Harbaugh and Joe Ortiz have said time and time again. They want to draft the best available player at any given moment. So a lot to talk about there, guys. And at the end of the day, the offensive side of the ball, we need help. You know that. I know that. This coaching staff needs that. I think we spend more money on the offensive side of the ball in free agency than we do on the defensive side of the ball. It's just my opinion. We'll see how it plays out. As always, Andrew Bullpros. And again, check us out on Thursday, guys. We are going to be going live. We're going to be, our usual shenanigans. Should be a lot of fun. See you guys in the next one.
Hey, what's up? Cameron Dick here watching the Bullpros podcast.